What does local government reorganisation really mean? This isn't reform. This is a radical, top-down system change, and it's already underway without your vote, without public consent, and in many cases, without full council approval. Meet Stuart Jeffrey, member of the Maidstone Green Party, leader of the Maidstone Borough Council, and who also serves as an influential council member at Kent County Council.
So I'm Councillor Stuart Jeffrey, leader of Maidstone Borough Council, loyal servant of the goddess Gaia, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. I'm pleased to welcome you to...
As you will see, this individual, with support from his Borough Council cabinet members and alongside the Chief Executive Alison Broom, are calling the shots on reorganisation.
Local government reorganisation is a facilitator for devolution. One hopes that the final submission, when we put it in, kind of nudges ministers to remember that, so we're not just reorganising for the sake of reorganising. You will see within the papers that there is a bill somewhere between 45 and 55 million pounds for doing this. That's an estimate, but it kind of feels in line with other areas that have gone through this. And we don't want to spend that money. I wouldn't want to spend that money without the promise of additional powers coming down to Kent and money coming down to Kent in the form of that devolution. So I think we kind of need to keep reminding ministers that we're doing this for that devolution goal.
If LGR goes ahead, district and borough councils will be abolished. Parish and town councils will be transformed, rewired from actual residents. Councillors, whether from a town council or a borough, will lose their seat. They will be replaced by a centralised unitary authority, with decisions made far from your local area.
The democratic element, I think we discussed this yesterday, but I know that there are available options, one of them being that it comes back to MBC members. I know that's not the preferred option, but there isn't an awful lot of democracy that's going on with this. I mean, if we talk about the whole process of devolution, yes, it was in Labour's manifesto, but did Labour get a mandate in Kent? No, quite frankly. So these are, voters in places like Sunderland that have decided this. So that's the first point.
Different position with respect to the local government reorganisation. We have been issued with a statutory invitation to put forward a proposal. So the responsibility for informing and engaging with the public lies with us. So there will, no doubt, if we proceed beyond the 21st of March, so if we put our submission in and we get feedback that we can continue in the process, then that engagement will need to happen.
This isn't a theory, it's happening now. Councillors themselves have admitted CGRs, community governance reviews, are being used to prepare for structural change. Ministerial statements show this is proceeding through invitations and proposals, not acts of parliament, bypassing public mandate. With this deceptive plan, they are using newspaper headlines, local government association talking points, and emergency rhetoric to hide the truth and silence objection.
Good evening. Given that Maidstone Borough Council is undertaking a community governance review, CGR, and in light of the wider local government reorganisation, LGR, process currently being explored across Kent, it's apparent that the assumed model of local democratic representation is being fundamentally altered. Whereas previously borough board members represented communities locally, the move towards a unitary structure would likely reduce representation to fewer councillors serving larger populations, substantially diminishing direct accountability, whilst evaluating any constitutional or legal risks of undertaking such governance changes without full council authority. Question: under what statutory basis may the executive or cabinet initiate or progress a strategic reorganisation process, including engagement with central government on unitary transition without a resolution, recorded approval of full council, or a vote of the wider elected membership?
What does the first part of the Local Government and Public Involvement in Health Act 2007 actually support? It enables the Minister Jim McMahon and Angela Rayner's department to issue invitations to local authorities in two-tier areas to submit proposals for reorganisation. These invitations can lead to the creation of unitary councils, but only if certain criteria and procedural requirements are met.
I wanted to ask about the local government review. I mean, we know that the government is pressuring all local governments to actually create unitary authority, but I'm sorry, but it doesn't sit well in my heart that we haven't had a democratic process on actually agreeing to be part of a unitary authority, and it does feel weird to me that Kent would be split. It's a historical boundary, Kent, and it feels weird for us to be split it apart.
First of all, community governance reviews have existed for quite a long time. So the community governance review is not a fundamental change in local government architecture. Secondly, the Maidstone Borough Council did not initiate this review process. It was initiated by Her Majesty's Government and we are responding, along with other local authorities, to that initiative from Her Majesty's Government. The legal framework clearly sets out that in councils such as our own, which has a cabinet executive model, with the exception of those areas that are explicitly reserved for full council, such as setting a budget, or our regulatory functions such as planning or licensing, the executive, as to say the cabinet, has the authority to carry out and to respond to government consultations and to do many other things, but it's explicitly allowed. We are allowed to do that. Our own constitution specifically makes clear that the responsibility for responding to government consultations, including this one, is a cabinet responsibility. However, when we get to the point, both on the community governance review, and which will probably come first, and on the local government reorganisation, where specific proposals have to be put forward, then a full council resolution will indeed be required to make clear what alternative option this council wishes to pursue. Now, be clear, our option, what we wish to pursue, may well not be what the government decides to do, but the members of this council will, in accordance with our governance arrangements and the law, have a very full discussion on this, and any proposal put forward will be put forward with the democratic support of the majority of the members of this council.
Any student of history knows this model. This is not new. It's the same centralized governance model used in communist regimes, or the European Union, for a real-time visual example, which has steadily stripped member states of autonomy, locking them into supranational control with no route of exit without economic collapse.
Okay, has this council, in accordance with statutory obligations, the Constitution and the Nolan Principles, allocated any budget, expended officer time, or formally engaged with the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities, Kent County Council, or external consultants regarding reorganisation proposals or options for unitary status prior to any full council ratification? I'm almost minded to say that's a completely different question. However, as I wasn't informed that you were going to be asking for financial details in advance, I will have to say that you will receive a written answer, because I do not wish to mislead you in any way by giving you an answer off the top of my head. Okay,
Thank you, Councillor. I will ask officers to consult with Councillor English and give you a written reply.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask if, because there was one bit of the question that he raised about we we went through local government.
Is this a point of order? Because I have answered the question. It's done and it will be dealt with.
Here are some facts supporting opposition to local government reorganisation. 1. No democratic mandate. 2. Misuse of statutory invitations. 3. Ministerial statements and sledgehammer threats. 4. Direct government challenges from the Heritage Party. 5. Historical and structural warnings.
2 points to make in particular. Firstly, any decision from Maidstone Borough Council on this topic, which is, I'll come back to what we're making a decision on in a moment, is to be made by the executive. Arrangements have already been put in place for there to be a full council meeting on the 17th of November for the purposes of seeking the views of council, not to put a motion and not for full council to make the decision. It's for the executive to make the decision. That is what is set out in the legislation. I'm afraid that is the case.
I was just pointing out the political impossibility of the executive making a decision that was not in line with the...
Okay, I'm just explaining precisely what the arrangements are. So full council will take place, I think you've already been advised, on the 17th of November, and the cabinet meeting will take place on the 19th of November. So that's so far as Maidstone Borough Council is concerned. All the other 13 local authorities in Kent and Medway will have meetings at a similar sort of timetable to allow the submission of a proposition to government by the 28th of November deadline. So this is not a bid. We are not being consulted. We have been asked to submit a proposition. So let's just be crystal clear about what the ask is. So I think a lot of things have been said this evening, and there, I appreciate, remains some degree of confusion, but I can make it absolutely clear. This is a proposition that we were invited to put forward by the Secretary of State in his correspondence to us and all the other local authorities in Kent and Medway in February this year. We will, as we go towards full council and the executive decision making, also arrange for all member briefings, as we did in the lead up to the interim plan being submitted, and we're in the process of finalising those dates at the moment.
So, what will happen if local government reorganisation proceeds? Existing parish, town, and district councils will either be dissolved or made redundant. Local assets and representation will be transferred to regional boards. Future elections and planning decisions will be dominated by appointed mayors, with direct lines to Whitehall, not residents. Public input will be limited to surveys, no real voting or accountability will remain at the local level. Devolution is not about giving more power to the people. It's about re-centralising control.